Okay, party people, let me set something up for you. I've got my test model here. It's about to go into the body shop, so I'm limited on how much video I can shoot because this has to all be repaired, which means it's gonna make a great canvas for me to demonstrate things. Here I have transparent tape, generic. I've used a mil gauge thickness tool to measure. It's approximately 1.37 mils thickness. I will explain that in a moment. But what I want to do, because when we're talking about clear coat, and when I say clear coat, your car will have clear coat on it. I am referring specifically to original factory paint systems. So the paint job on your car, brand new or not, will have a clear coat on it. There are very few exceptions. Now, if you go onto YouTube, the default answer is, well, how thick is clear coat? Anywhere from 1.5 mils to 2 mils thick, which means if this transparent tape is 1.37 mils, this would not be quite as thick as the thinnest of factory clear coats. So most people would look at this transparent tape and say, oh my gosh, that's all the protection I have in the form of clear coat? That is so thin. Assuming that your clear coat, so let me just do this. I will double this up, which would make it 2.6 mils, which would then make this thicker than the default answer of how thick is factory clear coat. Very, very thin. I want to illustrate something to you, a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm picking a spot here on the car. This is a chip. It's gone all the way through to the metal. I'm going to use a piece of tape to cover that. And I'm going to polish on this very aggressively for a few reasons. So I've covered that. In case it's not showing up, it's about that wide and that thick. And this really would probably make a good video for a brand of transparent tape as to how durable it really is. So a lot of guys, and this is what I'm going to be using, is a rotary polisher. My particular tool in the moment is Milwaukee's cordless. I'm going to use the CSI's wool pad. It's blue to represent a pre-washed, low linting pad, but it's still 100% wool, 4-ply wool pad. It's the most aggressive pad that you can use. This is the most aggressive polisher that you can use. Most of you will likely never have one of these in your hand. This is a workhorse. It's all about speed. It's all about power. It would be virtually impossible to what's called stall this buffer. So if I were to lay enough pressure and just pull the trigger full speed and just bury that throttle down, this would wrap my arms into a pretzel because these rotary polishers have that much power. But the good thing is not only does it have a variable speed trigger, you can dial the speed setting here also. So you have control, not to scare you away, but this is like you can literally use it as a grinder and cut to the chase. But because we're talking about factory clear, which already is thin, of course, something can only be thin when compared to something thicker. So thin, thick is a relative term in relation to something else. Point being is, if you knew that measurement, is like, oh my gosh, that transparent tape is so thin. So Darren, you're telling me that the clear coat on most cars are approximately that thick, which is not very thick, but I want to demonstrate something for you because I'm going to polish this area to a very aggressive and refined surface to do a few things. One, I'm going to be removing as much of the imperfections in the paint as I can without burning through the clear coat. So that is not my intention to burn through the clear coat, but what I am going to do is wear down the clear coat around this tape. So this tape will act as a form of protection, a prophylactic, if you will. And you may think that, oh, the most aggressive compound or polish along with that buffer and that wool pad would shred that tape right off the paint. Well, it won't. Now I could finesse it so it could start to, but I'm actually going to finesse this in a way so that this tape stays in position and it just continues to wear down the clear coat around it. Then when I take it off, I want to, and hopefully it will translate on camera. So let's just get started. I'm going to use, in fact, yes, I'm still going to use the Safest Polish Ceramics, the industry's original single product polish. What you truly, one of the many things, but probably the most significant, unique thing about this is it's made with non-diminishing abrasives. What that means is that the abrasive particles within this formulation retain their uniform size throughout the polishing system when compared to diminishing abrasives that intentionally break down during the polishing cycle. To reduce it down to a single word, it's all about control. This is control. Diminishing abrasives is a lack of control because you don't get to determine how quickly those abrasives break down. I'm going to pull in so you can see right there. That's the tape mark. Okay. There's the chip right in the middle. Yep, I believe I have it. Okay, so I'm going to be working right here. Put my polish right in the middle of the pad. I'm going to set this speed setting to 1400 RPMs. We grab a cloth and we will be able to already start seeing a difference. And by difference, what I mean is the difference in the gloss of the paint. And this is with the most aggressive wool pad and buffer that you can use, period. And the word for the day is rosebud. One word. If you've been playing along with my past recent videos, you will know that I like to give a secret word for the day to see who and who does not tune in for an extended period of time. So today's word, put it in a comment below by itself. No other questions, no other comments, just one word, rosebud. Now, if you have additional comments or questions, by all means, leave those separately. And if you've learned but a single thing so far in today's video, give the video a thumbs up, like literally right now. Let's continue. Now what I'm trying to do is finesse it so that I continue to just wear down the paint around it. Because if I do catch an edge on this, yes, the buffer has the ability to pull it up. But most people, I'm willing to bet, would not believe that basically transparent tape that you use in the house or in an office to attach papers or hang things on the wall could withstand polishing at this degree. Yep, tape is still fully intact. Where's that piece of tape? There it is, it's up there. So what I'm trying to do is position this so the light, the LED light captures, and there it is, the tape. So when I pull that tape off, it should be rather revealing. But let me continue with more fun. Apply a little more polish. There we go. The edges, still fill edges to the tape, which is exactly what I want to happen. Really what I'm trying to do is literally create a ledge here, a ledge of the protected. So when I pull this tape off, what you should see is that in the clear coat, there will be now a rectangular dimple into the clear coat, because I will have polished away some clear coat thickness in the pursuit of perfecting or correcting this paint. And that's where there's always trade-offs. Like, oh, my paint looks like garbage. I want it shinier. Therefore, I need to use abrasive particles in the form of a compound or polish in order to permanently refine the surface by scratching my way to success. So you can scratch your way to greater success, or you can scratch your way to perfection. But the more you chase perfection, the trade-off is that the thinner that clear coat becomes. That is a problem because clear coat is your car's best defense against elements called weather, and precisely, or more particularly, the UV lighting from the sun's rays. And a big determinant as to how much protection in the form of UV protection from the sun will be clear coat thickness. So that's part of the trade-off is, okay, I'm diminishing the thickness of my clear coat because I want more shine. I want more gloss, I want more depth. Okay, fine. But if you do it, or as you continue to do it, you have to accept that the trade-off is that you will continue to reduce the thickness of your clear coat. So you are reducing the thickness of the overall protection and precisely the amount of UV protection that is provided by this clear coat. Because part of the equation, not just chemically, is how thick is the clear coat. The thicker it is, the more UV protection there is. So right now, this area will have less UV protection than other parts of the car. But I'm gonna come back in, apply a little more polish, and then I think we'll go for a reveal and see what is revealed. Now you see this is what would be officially called buffer tracks, buffer trails, hologramming. What it really is in the moment is more about the polish that remains on the paint. Let me wipe this off. And I kid you not, I could pull, and I guarantee there's plenty of swirl marks in this paint, but white is the most forgiving color when it comes to that. I could pull this in the sun and I'd be willing to bet that 98% of the population would look at that and not know how to really discern the difference between, you know, high level polishing work, and they'd be like, oh yep, good to go, that looks awesome. But that's the nature of white paint. It's also the nature of this polish, because this polish is a single product polish, which means you only need one polish to do the heavy lifting and finish down to a swirl-free finish. So let's see if I can finesse this off. There's still a little bit of residue of tape. So I'm gonna use some rubbing alcohol and finesse this off without hopefully inducing some additional swirl marks or scratches into the surface. So, yep, I can actually capture a ridge. Now, whether I'm going to be able to illustrate this on camera, it's so bizarre. I don't know. You may not get a trip out of this. I do. When I first started doing wet sanding for customers and on my own vehicles, when I taped off for protection, I realized, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It literally wears a ridge. And right there, I gotta use the readers. So right at the top of my finger, see that? And what's being used, don't look at this light here. In fact, let me turn this off or turn it away. See if we can see the ridge even better because of the overhead lights. And this is why I use this dot, because it's an instant marker. So here is this ridge. So you should see that the light there's a high point and a low point to it. The high point will be right in the middle. Let's see if I can find the edge of, okay, let's see if we can see all the edges. All right, right there is the end of the tape. Right along the bottom here, that was the bottom of the tape. Let's go, yep, there's the vertical edge. Now the horizontal edge. My camera's LCD just turned off. So you see that ledge? Let me see if I can, I just unzoomed my GoPro. Let's see if I can capture that ledge unzoomed. I think I am. It's really tough. If you've used a GoPro, you know the LCD screens are pretty small. All right, I think I did show. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically finish correcting the paint around this and bring you in for a close-up to see what's revealed. Because at this point in using single product polish, I have pretty much removed all the imperfection in this paint without burning through the clear coat entirely. Now I would know if I burned through the clear coat because the color difference in this white would be different also. So I know that I still have some clear coat left. I can take a measurement and verify. Better change it to mils, that might help Darren. Okay, that's right, this started out at, it looks like I've removed about a half a mil of thickness in being overly aggressive. So what I would do is now I'm going to finesse this area because this is a single product polish. What that means is it will perform the heavy lifting. You decide what pads you're going to use based on your experience and how aggressive you want to get. But you can finish down to a swirl-free finish, and you would just switch buffers, switch pads, switch speed, switch pressure, duration. So you control all that, but this at least makes this part of the process as simple as it's going to get and as safe as it's going to get. So you can't get any more simpler than a single product. Now I'm going to finesse the hologramming, buffer trails, whatever you want to call it, and finish correcting this. I'm going to switch buffers. Let's switch to our DA pad. This is our blue cutting pad. Now I'm going to do that because this is white paint, very much more forgiving than black paint, for example. I really don't need to overthink this moment. Now I've got it to where I was buffing before. So approximately right there is our area. So I will, in fact, what I'll do is I will put a little piece of blue tape, because clear transparent tape is clearly a problem, pun intended. This is wider in top to bottom, left to right. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work around this, correct the paint. I don't know what's gonna show up on camera as far as really capturing the process in the right lighting. Really hard to operate around this lighting and shadows. So here's my pad, here's the amount of polish I've used. I'm still using ceramics on this pad. I'm going to dial this to a speed setting of 6, which is max output. No pun intended, this is the Max Shine dual action random orbital 15mm throw. Remove the polish, which comes off super easily. Now let's pull the tape off. Remove any residual. This is true waterborne technology, and there's actually a surfactant built into this polish, which means cleanup is super, super simple. I'm applying some distilled water to remove any trace of polish before I pull you in. Now, if I was like doing just truly high level paint correction, getting paid for it rather than just destroying this panel on the name of you guys and your viewing pleasure, I would be switching out microfibers right now. But I'm so glad I used that mark right there, because that is, so this is non-zoom. What I'm doing is, so this was the protected area right around that big chip. See all the swirl marks, scratches, you can call that effect whatever you want, it's unwanted. Then we have high resolution up here and around that area. There's some still, so what's tough is you will pick up different glare. See, there's the edge. Actually, what should have been created now is two types of edges, but specifically right at the top of my fingernail will be the edge where I wore down the clear coat with the original transparent tape. That's what I want to show you. So point being is I was overly aggressive, intentionally aggressive. I could have corrected this paint and retained much more clear coat without removing clear coat thickness. But that was the goal, is to kind of illustrate, well, I mean, really, you can take away whatever you want from this moment. It'll be interesting to see what you guys put in the comments. So there's the one edge. And scrutinizing this with my readers. And I would say if this was black paint, I would have to go in, because I was really overly aggressive with the wool pad. I didn't go up on an edge, which would be more aggressive. But if this was black paint, because right here, for example, I can see the edge of the transparent tape here and then the edge of the blue tape here. So there's going to be like three different things going on in this area alone. So I will put my finger right where the blue tape, between the transparent tape, the blue tape, then nothing. Now what I've done is I've zoomed, because I have to accept that zoom on this camera is going to pick up different things. So right there should be the top edge of the transparent tape, and you can see the ledge that it created. And there would be the vertical line going down, the horizontal line coming across. So I am very curious to see what will be revealed. Okay, in closing, I hope you've learned a few things today, because I discussed quite a few things. But let me set up, post hoc, a little additional context to this moment. Because some of you, if you've endured through the whole length of the video, you may be thinking, okay, that's kind of cool, but I'm not really sure what to do with that information. So I discovered this, and let me back up a little bit. So a couple of key points. One, clear coat, your car will have it. Two, clear coat is good. Three, clear coat provides protection, specifically UV protection. Four, that protection is largely determined based on thickness of the clear coat. So that is the constant balance act as to correcting paint, making paint perfect, and knowing that in order to do that, you're going to have to use some type of abrasive product in the form of a rubbing compound, polishing compound, or polish with abrasive particles in it, which will naturally wear down, scratch your way to success. But in scratching your way to success, in perfecting or correcting that paint or just improving it, you will thin out the clear coat. As you thin out the clear coat, you will thin out, diminish the UV protection of your clear coat to your base coat or color coat. Okay, so with that said is, in that measurement where I'm using transparent tape, which is very, very thin. Once again, most people would look at the thickness of transparent tape. Here in the United States, we generally just refer to this as Scotch tape, which is a name brand of transparent tape. And you would say, oh my gosh, that is so thin. But the reality is that you saw me wear down the paint, the clear coat precisely, and still have clear coat left. Based on my measurements, I wore down about 1/2 mil of thickness. Now, just to clarify, a mil is its own unit of measurement. A mil is 1/1000th of an inch, not to be confused with millimeter, which is 1/1000th of a meter. So a mil is very thin. But the point, part of the point was, and here's the context, is years ago when I first started doing high-end wet sanding, and that's part of the video, is that I did not wet sand this. So when I'm showing you the corrected area, it still has a rippled effect, which is called surface texture. More precisely, that is what's referred to as an orange peel effect. So just taking a buffer, I don't care how aggressive you are, to a paint surface is not going to correct for surface texture. So you will notice that there's still bumpiness, orange peel effect to it. But what has been completely removed is scratches, swirl marks, buffer trails. You can call that effect whatever you want. So that's just a little sidebar. But point is I was using the most aggressive pad, and I had protected a specific area with some transparent tape, but I was able to create an edge, a raised area. So the area underneath the tape was protected, and I wore down the clear coat on the surrounding area, and I still had clear coat left. So based on the default, which is, okay, most original factory paint systems will be finished with a clear coat that's approximately 1.5 to 2 mils thick. So if I wore down 1/2 mil, that would leave me some clear coat left. Who knows how much precisely. Point is there's still clear coat left, but the greater, and this is what really caught my attention years and years ago, was when I'm taping off an edge for protection, and I'm wet sanding and I'm polishing to perfection, and then I take off that tape because I didn't want to burn an edge like the edge of a door, the edge of a character line. I realized, oh my gosh, there is a ridge that is left over because I have wet sanded and polished the area so significantly without going through the clear coat, but there's still a discernible edge, an edge that literally will cast a shadow in the right lighting. So I was simultaneously disturbed because, okay, that was a new moment for me, but also intrigued because I thought, wow, I can actually create an edge and still have clear coat left over. So while I think clear coat is super, super thin, which it is, but it's still thick enough where I can do some high level or aggressive paint correction techniques, and there's still clear coat left over, but I can now see a discernible edge. So that's some context for you. So also I discussed the buffers, different between a rotary and a dual action. I demonstrated those for you using the single product polish, the industry's original single product polish, which means heavy defect removal down to a swirl-free finish. Blotty, blotty, blotty. Let me check my notes because I am filming this, as I said, post hoc. Okay, yes, I think I covered everything. Okay, so always check the links below. It will take you to one of my websites where I will wax longer and stronger on any given subject that I have discussed in today's video. Whether it's clear coat, what is clear coat, what does clear coat do, what are swirl marks, what is the difference between swirl marks versus buffer tracks, the difference between compound versus a polish. So always check the links below. And with that said, I hope you have learned something along the way. And don't forget the secret word of the day. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up on your way out. Until then, we will see you on the next video.